Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Grand Cathay in Total War Warhammer 3, Immortal Empires, Realms of Chaos, in this case Old World, but to talk about the Harmony system change that came with patch 4.1. So with Harmony, this is the third version of the Harmony system that we've had implemented into the game. So we had the initial one, which could be very powerful, but wasn't really fun at all to deal with because you would get it from research, you would get it from characters, you would get it from buildings. And it was really annoying to balance it out, though you would gain very significant buffs if you did. Then we had the rework, which has a change that, from my perspective, vastly improved the Harmony system. And now we got the patch 4.1 Harmony system, which takes the Shadows of Change one and nerfs it. It's still a better system to interact with, at least as a player, than what we had before, though it is a weaker system than what we had before. And I'm talking here before in the sense of the launch version. So let's go over what Creative Assembly has changed with respect to Harmony. By the way, I have to point out that Yambo's campaign, unless you're using like a climate change mod in Old World, is not especially a good start because of the way things are on this map, but that's a different discussion. Regardless though, so let's talk about what they've changed to Harmony to how it works before. Now, it used to be like Harmony would be global and all the buildings, all the characters, all the research would be judged and dependent on how much Harmony you had. You would either get yin, yang, or balance. Problem of the initial system is that it was very easy to get to balance Harmony, very powerful to get to balance Harmony, and really annoying to keep it because every time you got a new character or you lost territory or gained territory, every time you confederated, your Harmony would go out of balance. So it was an annoying system to interact with just because of how incredibly strong it is. I'm pretty sure Creative Assembly did not intend players to just have balanced Harmony throughout the campaign with the significant buff that it provides. Cathay is a good race, by the way, but one of the things that really improved them, significantly gave them a lot of power, was the fact that you could get balanced Harmony. In fact, I personally just stopped caring at one point, got a mod to install perfect Harmony all the time. I felt with the previous system, one of the things CA could have done is just make it so you have a buffer between yin and yang and balanced. So let's say you were balanced, if you're it would take you to go, let's say, 2 points towards yin or yang before you moved out of balance. That would make dealing with all the territories, characters, etc. far less frustrating than things were. But no, Creative Assembly completely redid the system. From my perspective, it's the only really good change that they implemented with Shadows of Change, the only really positive one. Because the compass change, yeah, it's fluff, basically, that what they did with the compass. The Grey Bastion was the most powerful before, it's still the most powerful if you care about casualty replenishment, and yeah, getting income if you don't care about casualty replenishment. By the way, the compass is the only way to increase your casualty replenishment. It's kind of a similar situation with Kislev, where if you're playing Kislev, they have the system of invocations, but basically, if you're building supporters, you always want Urson. If you're not building supporters, you always want Dash. So it's fluff. It ends up being pointless. Regardless, regarding the Harmony system, you had Harmony removed from characters, from research, and now you only had to deal with Harmony on an individual province level. And then they changed it again in 4.1. Basically, it's still the same system that got added and has a change, but now yin and yang have major debuffs as well if you go on the far end. So if you go 6 yin, you still get construction time, growth, construction cost, control, but you lose in terms of recruitment cost, recruitment rank, local recruitment capacity. So is Cathay just going to lose its ability of recruiting units altogether if you go plus yin, probably. And then minus 10% research rate. If you go yang, you lose free control, growth, construction cost, and construction time. Now, the reason and balanced harmony still stays the same. Basically, if you're balanced, you still get 20% campaign movement range, minus 20%, 25% upkeep, and 15% income from all buildings. I wonder, personally, if this was how they intended it to work initially in Challenge Change, and either because they never got time to finish it, or they made a mistake somewhere, they never implemented it, or if they added this change in response to the criticism from certain sections of the community that were like, oh, harmony is pointless now. It was always pointless. In fact, the system that they implemented in 4.1 made things much better, significantly better, and actually gave you choice. It's like the way the system right now in 4.1 works, it's the illusion of a choice, but really, there's no reason whatsoever in your campaign to ever go for anything other than balanced harmony. Because, yeah, you can go for yang if you want to recruit a lot of units, but you're going to end up destroying your control in a territory, and you're going to destroy your construction in a territory. Like, losing free control when you already lose 8 on legendary is disastrous. And that's the problem. Now, yang already was in a trouble spot before, but then you have yin, you lose your recruitment slots. So going on the extreme end, which by the way was something that would require actual effort if you were in sacrifices in order to pull off, especially in provinces with only two regions, but it was something you had to dedicate yourself towards. And because of that, the bonuses should have been significant. But what CA ended up doing right now is they basically make the system pointless. It's still good, but it's like the previous benefits we used to get before Shadows Change were more powerful. It was just like with Shadows Change you could have some specific benefits, like if you're recruiting a lot of units or if you're constructing a lot of buildings, where like from that perspective angle, things could be more powerful. But make no mistake, balanced harmony before Shadows Change was more powerful. Now, here's why it's ridiculous right now with what CA has done. Let me explain. The best way to build Cathay, flat out, the best benefits overall in terms of your economy, especially with the changes with Shadows Change, is you don't go for the goods emporium, you go for the trade exchange, because you're just going to flat out get more money. Like 6% from trade tariffs per building is basically like 2 or 3 income per trading partner. So for instance, if I were to get trade tariff over here, 10% would be 6, half of that, you get the idea, right? So 3 for each trading partner. So I would need, so if I was going with goods emporium, I would need probably something like 20 trading partners in order to even get to close to the level. And actually, in fact, I would need like 25 to surpass trade exchange. But that doesn't mean the trade exchange is always better, at least if you're not interested in perfect harmony. The reason is, because if you have to go yin, the reason is if you want to go yin, you can't get it because you need to go on the deep end of getting a lot of yin structures. And that was how it worked, essentially, with Shadows of Change. Like, you could certainly go with a balanced harmony. So what you do is get trade exchange, the administrative center, and the administrative center, basically. And you would have a balanced harmony. And then you'd have to decide with some yin lodges in certain settlements, and then some yang sanctuaries and other settlements in the province to keep things balanced as they were in these provinces. But basically the main choice with yin and yang essentially comes down to either lumber mill or administration center, and then trade exchange versus good emporium. Those are the only ones that are extremely consequential. You might think yin lodge could be consequential, but reality, if you're playing any campaign in this game, you're probably not going to have enough time to, take advantage of something like a Neon Lodge, because your armies are going to be on the offensive. And when you're on the defensive, like maybe in a frontline province, you might want to build some casualty replenishment, but like very situational with respect to that. So the main choice comes down to these buildings. If you wanted to get a lot of yin, you would get both these buildings. If you want to, but here's the thing, you would lose out in other ways. Like, why would you lose out? Well, because the lumber mill gives you it gives you construction cost of -6%. So if you wanted to maximize your yen and get access to a sweet -20% construction cost, then you lose on that 6 construction cost per settlement, which could end up being like 18 in itself if you just built 3 of these lumber mills. So it wasn't black and white, what I'm trying to point out over here. But similarly, if you were going for Yang to get all that recruitment cost, recruit rank, local recruit capacity, then you would also lose out potentially on this income from buildings, of course. Though keep in mind, like, you would get significant recruitment benefits, of course, but you would lose out on the yin benefits in terms of construction cost, which can save you a lot of money, in construction time. And you need to dedicate a lot of buildings for it. So now, with this change, basically, if you're playing the game, there's zero reason to ever go outside of balance. You get 15% income, while you won't have a lot of recruitment slots. Like, maybe if you're recruiting a lot of units, you temporarily go for a lot of Yang, but more likely, I imagine people are not going to go on the far end with it, and instead just get a couple of benefits, like maybe go Yang 1 or 2, or 3 to 5. Very few people are going to go Yang 6. It took a lot of dedication. This is why sometimes a nerf is just a bad idea, because it removes the choices that existed, because they were genuine choices you had to make in provinces with Shadows of Change. But now it's basically the debuffs make it so that it's never worth it to do it. Like, there's no reason to screw yourself over so much on recruitment by going in. There's no reason to screw yourself up so much on growth, construction cost, and so construction time to go Yang. Like, just the construction time alone would make that worthless, let alone combined with the growth downside. Sometimes Creative Assembly does things the right way, and people criticize them for it because, there's yin and yang is pointless. It wasn't pointless. You specialize provinces dependent on your needs, and you had to make sacrifices, and you had to balance those sacrifices, because you would either lose on an economic perspective or you'd lose out in a recruitment perspective. You'd either win, or you'd gain on the income perspective, but you'd end up losing on the construction cost perspective. Those are the kind of choices you had to make. Like, you could maximize your income previously with the Shadows of Change system. You could maximize your income, but lose out on both recruitment and construction costs, construction time. You could focus on construction time, but you'd lose out on income, you'd lose out on recruitment. And if you focused on recruitment, you'd lose out on income, you'd lose out on the construction benefits. Those are the choices. That's why the system was good. Now I want to hear a reason why I should ever bother in a Cathay campaign to go for anything other than perfect harmony. That's where I stand on that. And the way you would go for it, really, when you're trying to build, basically what you do is you probably would try and go yin in a lot of settlements initially, and then you'd switch for perfect harmony once you're not doing that. But if you're recruiting a lot of units, you would go for yang. That's essentially it. And yes, there were choices. There were genuine, legitimate choices with pros and cons. But no, we have to have this, but in the minds of certain people, unless there's red text, there's no negatives. That is just silly, from my point of view. And I think, like, with this change that was not even included in the patch notes, I think Creative Assembly went down the wrong path, from my point of view. Though again, I do have to wonder if they originally intended to add this in the game and just forgot to do it for whatever reason, or it was bugged, and then decided to add it with 4.1, or they decided to add it with 4.1 because of Reddit. Well, thanks Reddit. Yes, this was a topic of discussion on forums, on Reddit, from certain sections of the community. You know what? I think at some point I just have to say that the Old War fanbase kind of deserves everything it's gotten over the years. Just gonna end the video saying that. Like, people complain about how could Creative Assembly be such a horrible company, to which I reply, well, people swallowed up the launch of Empire with all the terrible performance, bugs, glitches, AI, pathfinding. They justified it, just as they justified Rome 2, just as they continue justifying those games, I might add. And then people act surprised when Creative Assembly treats them like crap, when they swallow the DLC practices, the bad performance, when people defend the 32-bit, and when people push for stupid changes like this. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. The CA fanbase deserves what it has gotten. Costine signing out.